And now, an 8th special presentation.
This time on Art Beat Nation. Expressing the power of music through paint.
The music came inspired by art, and so we're flipping it around and creating art inspired by the music.
A local photographer's students expressed their artistic talents.
It gave all of these amazingly talented, brilliant people a voice.
An artist's use of unconventional materials drives his creativity.
I get different looks, different moods, different light, and it will come to you if you just let it be, if you don't try to push it.
And an exhibition challenging the traditional meaning of fiber art.
There are a plethora of materials available to artists today, and this is such an incredible representation of over 40 years of contemporary art.
It's all ahead on this edition of Art Beat Nation. Funding for Art Beat Nation is made possible by donations to Curate, the Arizona PBS Arts and Culture Fund, and by contributions to aid from viewers like you. Thank you. Written in 1874, the famed piano composition Pictures at an Exhibition was Russian composer Modest Mussorgsky's musical expression of a collection of artwork. Now the Copley Society of Art in Boston, Massachusetts reverses the concept. In advance of a series of performances of Pictures by the Boston Symphony Orchestra, the Copley Society asked artists to paint works based on the music. Get an inside look at how they composed their impressions.
I think it's a great collaboration. I mean, I love the whole idea behind the symphony that, it was a person walking through an exhibition.
The music came inspired by art, and so we're flipping it around and creating art inspired by the music.
This painting is based on a particular piece within Pictures in an Exhibition called the Garden of the Tuileries. It's very jagged. There's a lot of arpeggios and a lot of color, a lot of action.
I grew up with Russian music. Russian music is very evocative. It's rooted in spiritual and fairy tales, and the music has the kind of scurrying quality to it that I visualize like this.
This was an interesting challenge for me to actually paint to the music, slowly and kind of quietly, and then as the music began to change, then I found that my actions changed with the music, forgetting everything else and letting the music really take me.
I just listened to it over and over again. It did definitely sink in, I think. It was sort of a seeping in of whatever the music was trying to say, and then my own interpretation.
I needed to create the darkness of the crypt. I absorbed the message and then I went for almost its opposite. I want to create the positive side of it, thinking that this was at the base of Mussorgsky's thought when he composed that movement.
This piece is based on With the Dead in a Dead Language. While listening to that particular part of the piece, the music was very, it wasn't really of this world, so I was creating something that gave the feeling of being somewhere else, and it also has that idea of death.
The particular promenade that I chose, the Turmoil, I thought roiling surf. When waves are crashing on the shore, there's a surge, there's a buildup, and then there's an explosion on the shore. And that same thing sort of happens in music. You have this composition that repeats, there's a variation on a theme.
What the Copley Society has done is groundbreaking for today's art world, but at the same time, it's really revisiting the history of what it means to communicate as an artist, and I'm very happy to be part of it.
Next, we head to Detroit, Michigan, where professional photographer S.K. heads into the autumn woods with her students, who happen to be adults with disabilities. Each student has displayed an incredible talent for photography, and the joy they get from the program is undeniable. Here's a look.
So we already talked about what we're going to do today. We're going to find alphabets in the trees, like a V. There's a V right there, see? There's a V. So we're going to try and find those, but I also want you to shoot whatever you see that's beautiful in these lovely woods.
Yeah.
Okay?
Cool.
All right, let's hit it.
All right.
You would be hard-pressed to find human beings that embody such kindness to each other and such dedication to the craft. It just, and such enthusiasm for what they're doing.
Hey, hey.
I love
Frank's
this
gone
kid.
pro on me. They're the kindest people I've ever met. They don't have a mean gene.
You know, I got that white movement, the white time, the white everything.
As happy and I like art and pictures.
How long do you think it took that whole log right there to get covered with that beautiful moss?
Her Kate calling me for doing this and stuff like that. They told her, yes, I'll do it. I'll take pictures.
So we're looking at colors as well.
I have spent so many years watching people who have special challenges be disenfranchised from mainstream, a lot of mainstream things, and it's always been a burning desire for me to be able to be in the business long enough to see them stand side by side with other artists who are recognized, and that they would be equally recognized for their contribution that has never been less than other artists.
I think those are bug houses. I don't think they're mushrooms. There's mushrooms on the other side. Patty Sims came into my picture, in my world, and we decided that I wanted to take people out into the woods on field trips and give them a live experience of what it's like to shoot on location.
Kay has such an enormous presence, and she directs people well, and so Olivia felt confident, and her confidence has grown because of this program.
This program is very important because I think many times our students are off the radar. And when we're out in public, they can see the talent and the beauty and the love.
Well, people with disabilities, they learn really fast. People like me, Olivia, and everybody else, we learn really fast in our life. So that's why I like it. You learn.
It gave all of these amazingly talented, brilliant people a voice. It gave them a voice to speak not necessarily what they could have said with words, but to show people where their passion lied, in the woods, different places.
I love it. It's nature and beautiful too. I like it a lot.
I just like doing it because it makes me feel normal.
Wow, that's powerful. art is a powerful thing, and it's in our DNA to make art, to be creative. So if that can make someone feel better about themselves, I'm all for it. See this part of it right here?
It just keeps pressure off me. You know, it's like a jug of grit is falling on you. Once you take that picture, you're happy. You have that feeling when you're like, oh, I love doing it, you know, and everything, and I just love it.
Look at that leaf, it's so beautiful. Someone has to take a picture of that leaf. That is stunning. They're absolutely brilliant photographers. I'm always surprised at the angles, at what they see that I don't necessarily see.
That's the one where I was laying down, like laying in the leaves, and I was looking down. That's the one I like.
To see the smiles on their faces when they walk into a gallery and they see their work in an art gallery, you can't buy that kind of joy. It's beautiful.
Every time we do something like this, and every time we have an art exhibit, whether it's at the Detroit Artists Market or at the Scarab Club or any other venue we may choose, that when people come and they see, then they know, and when they know, then they believe, and when they believe, they're inspired.
Got it?
Yeah.
Yay!
She has learned to express her inner thoughts and her inner feelings by the images that she produces. And it's so much simpler for her to snap a picture than to verbalize what she's feeling internally.
These are the kinds of things that change lives. I've watched people who, felt like they had very little to contribute, who were socially isolated, who started participating in our photography programs and literally just came alive. You can never diminish the value of that.
I wonder if we could even count how many different colors we actually see.
This is making her happy, and it's making all of us happy, including all of our family and friends. They're all involved in it.
I love everything about it. We all get together and have fun.
When we are out, it gives people a chance to see that, again, we're all from one big family, and that the talent and the brilliance and the love that is always shown with them toward each other, with the parents, with everyone who's involved. Oh, the blue jay feather.
Oh,
wow.
Blue jay feather. Oh, there's a blue jay feather for you.
Thank you.
Come on.
I see a gratitude that they have for the people who work with them, people like Kay, people like the parents who support.
Yay! Oh, you got it. Great. Nice shot.
I want to thank you, Kay, because I like to take pictures.
In Ohio, artist Mike Elsa is fast becoming an international success with his combination of color, energy, and art. With no formal art training, Mike is using his passion and unique vision to work with steel and natural color sources to create his works. For this artist, it's not about the usual, it's all about the unusual.
I grew up in a small town north of here in Botkins, Ohio. And we didn't have art. I played sports, baseball, basketball. I always enjoyed art, but we didn't have any classes or no formal training. I went to school at Ohio University, journalism major, and had no formal training. Then I sold health insurance to schools and corporations. I was introduced to art by Roger Sayre. He was a well-known artist. I bought some of his art back in the 80s and met Roger. He painted on steel. Got to know Roger and took a space at the Front Street warehouses where I became his studio assistant for 3 or 4 years. And I would go out on the road and take a load of steel in the back of my truck and paint it wherever I might be in the patina of the ocean spray or the desert or sun, rain, all added to the steel. I don't really know of anybody using weathered steel on a full-time basis. It's pretty gritty. With the recycled steel, a lot of it comes from a scrapyard just a quarter of a mile from here. It represents aging and imperfection and the trials and tribulations that we go through in life. The steel always is interesting because I don't know what its former life was or where its brothers and sisters are going. And it's interesting, there's a lot of textures, imperfections, and different imagery that comes out of the steels. It also represents strength and durability. Some of my work you could stand on. I'm not sure that's much of a selling point. I pretty much paint brush before the brain, which means I paint first and think about it later. Not worried about mistakes, not knowing which direction the piece is going to hang. So I'm just enjoying the moment, being in the moment, and getting into whatever textures and colors I might be using that day. I just love the color and texture, and I paint very texturally with a lot of texture. I use pumice, steel shavings, tar, silicate sand from local gravel pits, literally everything in the store. And I just love the use of color and learning how to apply it and blend it with texture. I paint acrylic on steel, and then I finish it off with an oil, which stops the oxidation. I paint so fast, so I'm painting on 20, 30 pieces at one time. I paint 30, 40, 50, 60 days on pieces as opposed to a very short time frame. So I get different looks, different moods, different light, and it will come to you if you just let it be, if you don't try to push it. But so I paint real thin, almost watercolor-like, and so there's a lot of luminosity, depth down in the painting and in the steel. Kind of represents life and the different places and trials we've been exposed to. I think that's the biggest skill an abstract artist has, is knowing when to quit. And I think I get about 1 out of 15 that are really good, and I seem to know on those. The rest of them, it seems like I'm continually painting on them. If you don't worry about finishing it out and you just enjoy the moment, then it's not so critical to try to decide that. I do classes, and they're called Brush Before the Brain, and you paint first, you think about it later, and there's no mistakes. I also have a charity side of things. I enjoy being able to donate to charities and have them either through a class or the artwork add value that way. So I'll probably do more charitable work. Well, I'm painting big pieces, 10-footers, triplicates, that size, and I'm going organic, where I don't use as much paint and I use more of the elements of nature and texture. So I've been able to travel around, and so my inspiration comes from different locations. Appreciation of just being alive and being able to paint and have spaces to paint in.
Finally, we head to the Denver Art Museum in Denver, Colorado, to an exhibition offering something for everyone. From contemporary artists to the American West, pre-Columbian weavings to Navajo design, Spun, Adventures in Textiles is redefining what some may typically perceive as art.
Spun at the Denver Art Museum is a campus-wide exhibit that wraps people's minds in textiles. And from pre-Columbian weavings to contemporary light installations, DAM is pushing the boundaries of what one might consider to be fiber art.
It's an eye-opener for what today we take for granted. This exhibition functions on so many different levels. One is exactly that, function, how different textiles might have been used or were used, whether it's for warmth and comfort when you're sleeping, protection, sacred rituals. There are so many different techniques represented in this exhibition. People think of weaving and embroidery perhaps off the top of their heads, but by extension, quilting and coverlets, tapestry, block printing, resist dyeing, so all the different ways to decorate that piece of cloth.
But it's not just about cloth for today's artists. Many are experimenting, weaving together unexpected materials, and echoing the layers and depth found in more traditional textile works.
There are a plethora of materials available to artists today, and this is such an incredible representation of over 40 years of contemporary art. And you can really see whether it's textiles, wood, charred wood, light. There's different mediums throughout this exhibition that really lure you in. And it's different than the historic textile galleries where there's much more of a functional aspect to the work. In this show, it's more artists of our own time thinking about issues that are relevant to us living today. This is a young artist, and she's taken apart children's teddy bears and then reconstituted them in this rug, in this wall piece, and creates this sort of Rorschach pattern, you know, the ink blot test. Sort of having fun with materials and thinking about how when you take them out of their normal context, they might mean something different.
I made these works in the early 90s at the height of the AIDS crisis. A lot of my friends were dying, and this work really was in response to that. So for me to plow my way systematically through time by knitting, for about 10 years of knitting about 12 hours, 13 hours a day. So it was a way for me to keep track and also to meditate on the passage of time.
Artist Oliver Herring's work is a reflection of his experience. I asked curator Alice Zabritz how other people throughout history have used materials, and as a result, what we learn about culture.
Textiles say a lot about culture. It could be the materials, because certain areas of the world having flocks of sheep and they might be making their textiles from wool. Others might have flax or linen. Others are silk growing cultures. So where you live in the world, that's going to influence to a degree what your textiles are made from. Of course, trade is a big part of that, and people are always incorporating things taken from a distance into their own. Color choices can be dictated by culture. You'll see a lot of indigo in the show. Many of those textiles are from Japan, whereas the Uzbek ikat is a flame of colors. They are in an art museum, and we are appreciating them for either fabulous design, beautiful workmanship, but always the beauty of the object.
So we're here in the quilt studio, which is part of Spun. Why did the museum want to include a space like this, Jenna?
This is not your grandma's quilt studio. This is really about contemporary practice. So really thinking about the ways that colors and patterns and different textures work, which is exactly the same process that a painter or a sculptor goes through in making those creative decisions.
There's labels throughout the exhibition. You can use your mobile phone and take a picture of the QR code beneath the label, and it takes you to videos and the artists talking about their work. And I would venture to say that all art is interactive. A lot of contemporary artists, the viewer completes the piece, so it is an interactive thing. We all bring baggage and different meanings to a work, and the transposition is looking at interactivity through technology, and that's a very new thing. I mean, only the accessibility of young artists being able to work with technology to make a piece like that has only come about in the last decade. Your movement is picked up by cameras that you don't see and is translated through software to create this movement that's projected onto the wall. It becomes this optical effect, and it's quite beautiful. But it also makes you aware of your body and your own movements. It's a very poetic, simple piece. It's a very different way of thinking about making art, and so art is no longer just a painting or a sculpture or a photography for that matter. So that's what I love about contemporary art. You can see this sort of transgression of how they're all continuing to push the limits of what a piece of wood can do, or just fabric and materials in general, to convey these very deep, thoughtful, emotional, and political responses.
For more on this exhibit, visit denverartmuseum.org. For more arts and culture, visit azpbs.org/artbeat, where you'll find feature videos and information on the Arizona art scene. Funding for Art Beat Nation is made possible by donations to Curate, the Arizona PBS Arts and Culture Fund, and by contributions to 8 from viewers like you. Thank you.